question that I get asked by so many people in this world, from students in my youth group to my coworkers, and it's a question that I want you to keep in the back of your head for the next couple of minutes. Are you happy? When I think about happiness, I always make the connection to the very popular phrase, do what makes you happy. And I absolutely cringe. So let me just tell you a little bit about why. I think as Christians, we've all kind of come to cringe at that phrase, do what makes you happy, because it's so synonymous with all the bad things in this world that you can do to make yourself happy. And for a long time, I was striving for happiness, but most people didn't see it as a bad thing because I was striving for happiness within the context of the church. But I found this little, new perspective on happiness. It's in Galatians 5:22-23. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Heard this verse what feels like 1,000 times in the 10 years I've been able to comprehend them, but it wasn't until just a couple months ago that I really grew to understand them. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and the Holy Spirit was alive and moving. I saw that, I understood that, but I never knew how to get it for myself. And I looked to this verse for the answer. I was consistently trying to live out the emotions that I felt were equivalent to the attributes outlined in this verse. I strived to have happiness rather than to have joy. I was striving to be secure rather than to have peace. I was trying to be nice instead of to have kindness. I was trying to be loyal rather than to have faithfulness. I thought that if I forced myself to feel the emotions that I thought were compatible to the attributes that the Spirit would freely give me, that would be enough, and the Holy Spirit would see me worthy enough to live inside of me and to use me. But in all my experience, I never really grew to understand what this kind of seemingly secret was to living for Christ that all of the youth leaders and pastors around me had said have changed their lives. But I think I found it in this verse, and it's the part that I've never given a single thought to. It's the word fruit. So one day, just out of curiosity, after reading this verse, I googled the word's fruit definition. And the only thing that came up that didn't have to do with food was simply the word offspring. And I know this sounds weird, but for me it was crucial. Understanding that the good things outlined in this verse were the offspring or the outflow of the Spirit was essential, because I thought it had to come from me. I was consistently disappointed when I didn't feel love or joy or peace, because when I didn't feel those things, they didn't reflect themselves in my actions or my words, and I wasn't okay with that, and I knew God wasn't either. But from this revelation, I came to the realization that I didn't need all these good emotions. I needed the attributes of the Spirit. I was always told to empty myself of all the negative emotions that I had, from lust to pride, guilt, shame. But then God asked me, what if I had chosen to empty myself of all the things this world would think I was crazy for not wanting? Happiness, satisfaction, determination, excellence. Now, I'm not saying that any of that's bad. I'm saying that if I had that and it didn't all flow from my spirit, which had been filled with the Holy Spirit, built on a spiritual relationship with the one true God, then it was meaningless. There were so many times where I wasn't strong enough, my weak self took over, and I was the exact opposite of everything I knew the Bible wanted me to be. I was angry, I was bitter, I was resentful. But the verse following really helped me to understand where I was going wrong. Galatians 5:25 says, since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. It does not say, since we live by the Spirit, let us do an emotional balancing act while trying to be an upstanding student and employee and make a lot of really big life decisions. Because that's what I felt like it said. But God says, since we live by the Spirit, keep in step with the Spirit. And keeping in step with the Spirit for me had everything to do with dropping every emotion that I had, both positive and negative, and seeking the Spirit, and only the Spirit. So let's get back to that question that I asked you earlier. Are you happy? So now you've had a little time to answer. Let me ask you why. Because if you would say, yeah, I'm happy, but the reason for that happiness is not solely because the joy of the Lord lives inside of my heart, I would challenge you to become unhappy. And first allow the Holy Spirit to fill you with His joy. Because like happiness, every single emotion we have is conditional to our situation and subject to change with the changing world around us. But having the joy of the Spirit, and all the fruits of the Spirit for that matter, rests only in our ability to, no matter what's happening around us or how we feel, to keep in step with the Spirit by seeking Him and only Him.